This video is to help learn how to balance equations. These are the rules or steps needed to help balance an equation. The first one is to write the equation if necessary. All of yours will already be written, so we do not need to worry about the first step. The next step is to count the atoms. So when we look at the number of atoms in our equation, we are looking at the right-hand side versus the left-hand side of our equation. Where the yield sign is, also known as the arrow, that's where we look at our reactants are on the left-hand side and our products are on the right-hand side. So to count our atoms, we are going to start with the number of atoms on our left-hand side, and we have one sodium atom on the left-hand side, and we have two sodium atoms on the right-hand side. To get this to be balanced, we need to increase the smaller 1 sodium to 2. So we need to think about what number we can multiply by 1 to get to 2, and that's going to be 2. 2 times 1 is going to give me 2 atoms of sodium. Next, we're going to look at our oxygen. We have 2 oxygen atoms on the left-hand side and 2 oxygen atoms on the right-hand side. Both of those are balanced. I don't need anything else in my equation. I can put ones in the place at the beginning. These are called coefficients. So my 2, 1, 1 are my coefficients to help balance my atoms. And when I look back, I check to make sure I do have 2 sodiums and 2 oxygens. That's all I needed. Now I'll move on to my next equation. I'll do the same thing. I'm going to look at my left-hand side of my equation versus my right-hand side of the equation. So I'll put a line through my yield sign or arrow to separate my left-hand side from my right-hand side. When I look on my left, I have 2 silvers, Ag is silver, on the left-hand side, and I have 1 silver on the right-hand side. Just like I did in the first one, I need to figure out how I can increase my 1. What can I multiply by 1 to get to 2? And I need to put a 2. So then I can have 2 silvers. Next, I'm going to look at my oxygens. I have 1 oxygen on the left-hand side, and I have 2 oxygens on the right-hand side. Now my oxygens are unbalanced, so I need to increase my smaller one. I'm going to put a 2 in the front to give me 2 oxygens. Now, some of you are in Algebra 1, and you may have started going over the distributive property. The distributive property is if you put a number in the front of an equation, that is getting distributed to both elements or both variables in the equation. The same thing happens here. So 2 times my 1 oxygen gave me 2 oxygens, but 2 times 2 silvers is going to give me 4 silvers. That has now unbalanced my silvers. So now I have to go back and fix my silvers. I need to change this to a 4. Instead, Once I've changed it to a 4, now I have 4 silvers. So as I look now, I should have 4 silvers on the left-hand side, 4 silvers on the right-hand side. I have 2 silvers on the left-hand side. I have 2 silvers on the right-hand side. Now for my final equation. I have 3 different elements in this one. I'm still going to do the same thing. I need to look at my number of atoms on my left-hand side of my equation versus my right-hand side of my equation. So I'm going to start with aluminum. I have 1 aluminum on the left-hand side. I have 2 aluminums on the right-hand side. To increase my 1 smaller aluminum, I'm going to put a 2 to increase it to 2 aluminums. Next, I'm going to move on to copper. I have 1 copper on the left-hand side. I have 1 copper on the right-hand side. I don't need to do anything with this particular element because it's already balanced. Next, I'll move on to oxygen. I have 1 oxygen. I have 1 oxygen on the left-hand side. I have 3 oxygens on the right-hand side. Now, I need to increase the one on the left-hand side, which just has 1 oxygen. What can I multiply by 1 to get to 3? I'm going to put a 3. Now I have 3 oxygens on the left-hand side. But remember, just like I did in the previous equation, this 3 does go to the oxygen, but it also goes to the coppers. So now I have 3 coppers on the left-hand side. So I need to find a way to make 3 coppers on the right-hand side. I'm going to put the coefficient of 3 in front of that copper and give me 3 coppers on my right-hand side. This is, again, an example of how you are balancing equations.